My opponent has given you three key reasons in this round why we should not join an international court. The first is that we have to let the country where the atrocity occurred to deal with its own problems. My opponent responds in his last speech that we have to educate the people within that country, and he provides this alternative. Yes, I did attack his alternative, but my primary objection to this argument is that countries themselves are unwilling or incapable of prosecuting their own criminals. That's a problem, because as we've seen in Rwanda and Yugoslavia, the governments were either incapable, as in the case of Rwanda, or unwilling in the case of Yugoslavia, to convict their own criminals. Thus, the only possible solution is an external actor. That's the argument that my opponent does not respond to. The second major reason my opponent's given you for why we shouldn't join the court is that it's going to make arbitrary decisions. It's going to target the highest offenders over the lowest ones. But he ignores my objection that if a court has limited resources, it must focus on the highest offenders because those are the ones that pose the greatest threat to human rights, which is his own criterion. And finally, he's given you this empirical argument that the ICTY was unsuccessful and that it actually caused civil war. My response was that he doesn't have any evidence of causation, and he agrees to that in cross-ex. He says that his point still stands regardless of the absence of evidence, but my argument is that due to the ethnic tensions that were present in the country already, who's to say that that civil war wouldn't have happened anyway? He hasn't given you any reason that the court was actually responsible for the devastation that followed. There's only two voting issues in this round. First, we have to join the international court to preserve our leadership in the world. My opponent's given you theoretical arguments why refusing to join the court won't undermine our leadership, but I've given you empirical evidence that, first of all, the vote was 120-7, and there was only one other democracy, that is Israel, that did not join the court. But second of all, that we've already started to see backlash from the European Union. They've condemned our actions multiple times and brought a large amount of criticism onto the United States. The second and the most important voting issue in this round, an issue that my opponent really doesn't sufficiently address throughout this round, is the issue of terrorism. I've given you two reasons why an international court is necessary for the prosecution of terrorist networks. First, evidence sharing, and second, countries won't hand over their suspects unless there's a neutral international forum. Thus, because I've shown you that an international court is essential to the prosecution of terrorists, because I've shown you that not joining undermines our moral leadership, because I've shown you that internal social norms will fail, and that even if the investigation is arbitrary, it's still the best possible solution, I continue to affirm the resolution. Next round.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we've been listening to the annual High School Debate Championship, sponsored by Baker Hostetler. We'll return to this program in just a moment, but first a few announcements. We welcome all of you here today. It's nice to see so many young people here at the City Club today, so many high school debaters. Each year, the City Club High School Debate Championship is sponsored by the law firm of Baker Hostetler in memory of Patrick Jordan. This is not only a wonderful and lasting tribute to Pat Jordan, this support enables the City Club to invite high school debaters from throughout the region to attend, as well as classmates and the families of the contestants. Our sincere thanks to Baker Hostetler and their support of this important program, and to John Parker, who represents the firm here today. John, would you please convey our sincere appreciation to the partners and associates of Baker Hostetler. We are really pleased today to welcome to our forum today students who are here as part of the City Club student program. Participation of these students is made possible by a generous grant from the Jeffrey David Epstein Memorial Student Fund. With us today are students from 13 area high schools. Many of these students participate in debate competitions throughout the year. They are Brush, Brecksville Broadview High School, Cleveland School of Architecture and Design at John Hay, Glenville, Hawken School, Horizon Science Academy, Laurel School, Magnificat, Olmsted Falls, Orange, Rocky River University School, and Vermilion. Thank you for joining us today. Now, while the judges are making their tabulations, we have time for perhaps a couple questions here to our debaters. Holding the microphone today is Assistant Director of Development, Marcella Brown. There's Marcella. May we have the first question, please?
This is to each speaker. we're in a rectangular hall, and I noticed that when each of you were speaking, you only looked to your right. You never addressed the north end of the hall at all.
That's because the judges are sitting over there.
Yeah, it's important that we keep eye contact with them, especially since they decide our fate.
This also is addressed to both speakers. It's not quite on the same level as the previous question. But you spoke about the prosecution of perpetrators of these crimes against humanity. From your research, how far do you recommend that we go with that? You'd start with the head of the country, perhaps? Would you go down to the cabinet? Would you go down to the generals? How far would you recommend we go in prosecuting those perpetrators of crimes against humanity?
I think that we might have to consider whether or not prosecution in any formal manner is a good thing or not. Because when we're talking about things like terrorism, for example, if we punish a terrorist, that can easily turn into an image of martyrdom, for example. So we have to be careful with who we're blaming and who we're not. And at that point, we also have to consider what would be acceptable within a nation. So I can't really say a specific level that we would go to, but there are lots of people within a nation who are culpable for these crimes against humanity, and that has to be taken into consideration.
That's a pretty complex question. At the Nuremberg trials, a lot of German officials used the defense that they were simply forced to commit the crimes and that they weren't actually accountable. So you have to look at issues of intent and whether or not they were just committing the crime out of coercion or whatnot. And like the people that actually laid the bricks for the concentration camps, we have to look at them. Are they actually responsible? So you have to take into account a lot of factors.
Thank you. And now, the moment we've been waiting for, to announce the winner and present the trophies. I'd like to call Anne back to the podium, and she will let us know the results.
The winner today is Vinay Prasad from University School. Congratulations.
Well, today we've been listening to the annual High School Debate Championship, sponsored by Baker Hostetler. Thank you and congratulations to both Vinay and Omar. Thank you, debaters. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.